Good morning, everyone. We will be beginning the webinar in just a moment. We're just waiting for it to be 11 o'clock, maybe 11:01, and then we'll be good to go. All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you for joining us today on this relatively dry Tuesday. For your virtual business card, we have a wonderful itinerary set up for you today. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors, EY, Flexingate, Magna, Nutrien, Prasad Employment Law, and RBC for making this webinar series possible. Before we start our webinar, I would like to go over quickly how we'll be handling questions. All questions can be asked either in chat or in the Q&A section of the webinar. We'll be choosing some of these questions to be answered in between speakers, as well as during a Q&A period at the end of the presentations. If you have questions you'd like either of our presenters to answer, just include their name in the question. First, we'll be hearing from the founding partner of Advantis Communications. Cyrus Mavawala, ABC MC, is a sought-after digital communications strategist, trainer, and speaker who has been helping organizations achieve business results for more than 2 decades. He is an IABC accredited business communicator and is one of 60 people in Canada who have been awarded IABC's Canada's highest honor and lifetime achievement designation, Master Communicator. After leading teams at global agencies, Cyrus founded Advantis Communications, an award-winning communication agency focused on digital content strategy, creation, and activation. The Advantis team integrates social media, video, and digital communication strategies and tactics that support communication objectives for governments, associations, and corporations. Cyrus will be providing us an overview of how social media can be used to better represent your company. I'll be handing the virtual reins over to him now. Cyrus?
Thank you, Roy, and thanks to everyone for taking the time to ensure their marketing is ready. So as things begin to open up, as they are, we're going to come out of the gates ahead of our competition. So I'm just going to share my screen now. And let's see. All right, so you should see the first slide there.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. All right, so, okay. So let's kick this off here. Before we dive in, neuroscientist Carmen Simon says that with business content, the majority of your audience will forget about 90% of what they hear within 48 hours. And more importantly, the 10% what they remember is totally random. So that stat really scared me. So to combat this and to be intentional about the key content that will help you and your business, I want you to remember the right things and to make our time as actionable as possible. If you can, take a scrap piece of paper, and put these 4 headings on it, or put them in boxes. And when you come across something that intrigues you and you think you should either stop doing, or maybe reduce doing, or maybe start to doing, or maybe increase and do more of, you can just jot those bullets in that. And that way you'll remember the right stuff and you'll be able to implement it tomorrow. All right, so with having said that, here's a conversation prism. This is basically looking at a variety of social media platforms because people say, oh, we're doing social media. We want to get on a social media. Well, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of platforms. Even if we just look at around 5 o'clock on this like pie chart, we see business networking. So even within business networking, there are many different platforms. So we need to be strategic and choose the right platform for our specific business needs. Because there are, about 3.8 billion active social media users, and trends suggest that more than half of the world's total population will use social media by the middle of this year, 2020. So it is definitely, and given the times, of course, we are seeing an uptick with our clients on their focus on social because it's a key way to connect with employees, partners, customers, prospects, that sort of thing. This is a phrase we hear a lot. Social media is free, isn't it, right? Well, I like to say social media is free like a free puppy, because you have to feed it, you gotta clean it, you gotta walk it, you gotta train it. Anyone with a pet will attest to the fact that social media, just like a puppy, is definitely not free, right? There's a real cost. So because there's a cost, because of our budgets have probably been reduced or totally evaporated, we need to ensure we're working on the right social media platforms and we're working effectively and efficiently. So let's just look at the cost of a tweet. How much does a tweet cost? Well, we do a lot of social media audits. We conduct a number of social media audits in the US and Canada every month. And we review their internal team. We review their processes, their social media practices, their governance, competitors, and we provide a detailed report with actionable recommendations. And from all that research, we've looked at, okay, how much time are people taking to do certain functions related to social media? So if we look at just writing a tweet, we look at, brainstorming, let's say a minute, right? Research, you got to draft it. You got to find the image. You got to crop that image, edit it. And then there are approvals. You finalize it, and then you schedule it for some time in the future, right? Because you're probably not just tweeting live all the time. And it's interesting to point out that finding an image really is a very large part of the time that it takes, and finding the right image. And drafting, of course, includes, writing, looking at hashtags, and choosing the right hashtags, not just what comes up first, but there's some research in even looking at hashtags too. So there's a cost. And this really, when I talk to communication professionals that are either overseeing social media in their organizations or rolling up their sleeves and actively involved in implementing it, they look at this and they tell me, wow, this is the absolute best case scenario. So these are definitely not overinflated, if anything, underinflated numbers. So 19 minutes, let's add it up, 19 minutes for one tweet. Now, if you ask one of your employees, does it take you, 19 or 20 minutes for a tweet? They're definitely they will say maybe it takes about 4 or 5 minutes. But if you actually do the math, it comes out to this. So let's say the average person doing social media within your organization is paid $65,000 a year, right? So what does that mean if they're doing 2 tweets a day, each weekday, so Monday to Friday, for a year? That's equivalent to $5,500. So social media is definitely not free. And that's just Twitter. What about Facebook? What about Instagram? What about LinkedIn, where posts are much longer? There's more thought put into them. And this is not talking about costs for imagery, because we can't just scrape off imagery. We need to buy royalty-free imagery and have great imagery, not just the classic stock photos. So you can see it's definitely not free. So that's why we need to pay attention and make sure our teams are being efficient and effective. Here's a model framework we developed after years of social media engagements with associations, with government, with companies across the US and Canada. And there are critical success factors within each of these components, but we're just going to scrape the surface on the strategy and audience. And we're going to do that because just understanding and asking ourselves a couple questions in these 2 areas will help focus our teams to ensure they're on the right track and they're putting the energy and effort into the right place. This framework was really built for organizations, but the concepts absolutely apply to the individual at the individual level as well. And they may seem straightforward, but many organizations, even those with teams of staff focused on social media, can find improvements, even just within every one of these areas, actually, but certainly within the strategy and audience that we're gonna talk to. And if you want this, along with a lot of text that connects these boxes and explains what each of these areas are all about and what to look for and what to ask yourself in each of these areas, you can download it in our resources page. So strategy, just let's ask a couple questions to consider. And this is whether you're thinking about opening up a new social media account, whether you're reviewing your existing social media landscape, or aiming to increase the ROI on your social media investment. Because yes, it is an investment, right? We're spending staff time and resources doing it. So strategy, key considerations. Why are we using social media? It's a question that just seems so simple, but we have to dig behind it. Why are we actually using social media? And what do we want to accomplish by using social media? Do we have the required resources? Before we start something, we need to make sure we've got the right staff and they've got the right training, the right expertise, and they actually have the time to devote to this, and not just setting it up, but ongoing. Now, what job does each social channel need to do? And is there a social strategy? Often we find even large organizations, yes, there was one in the beginning, but over the years, no one's had the time to kind of stand back, take a look, do an audit, and then create that and update and revise that plan. So is there a plan? Is it documented? Is it approved by the necessary departments? And is it shared, and does everyone understand it? Often, even if there is a plan and it has been approved and shared, different departments are thinking it means something different, and that's why social media looks disjointed from organizations. And of course, are there smart objectives in place, right? And because it's not just social media or not just media relations and public relations, how is social media integrated into your broader communication and marketing initiatives? So I don't know if this is going to be recorded, so you can look at this later, but you might want to take a picture. Just jot some of these down in those boxes we talked about right in the beginning. Okay, so let's talk about audience now. What we see from our audits is a lot of social media teams are not taking the time to fully understand and define their target audiences. They might have 60,000 followers on Twitter, but if you ask them who those individuals, who those people are, the answers we get are typically quite vague in general, and they don't really know who those Twitter followers actually are. And on the other hand, sometimes we find when we ask who is your target audience, they reply, well, my Facebook insights tell me that our audience is primarily women aged 34 to 45. Well, when we talk about audience, we're not talking about the audience on the platform. We're talking about who is the target audience that your organization is trying to connect with, right? So who are those prospects? Who are those potential partners that you're trying to connect with? Once you know that, then you can look at which platform is best suited and has the most individuals that contains my target audience. So, our parents always told us, don't talk to strangers. And yep, it still applies for our businesses. Let's not talk to just anyone or people we don't know. Let's understand our audience and talk to specifically them by defining our audience. And this might be something to jot down in the start box. When you define your audience, are you defining the characteristics that are relevant to what you're being solved, or are you looking at both the demographics of your target audience and the psychographics? So their mindset, their opinions, their preferences, their habits. There's a lot of things, and the more information we get about our target audience, the better we can connect with them. The better choice of words we'll have, the better choice of imagery we'll have. We'll know what time of day they're surfing on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. We'll know when the best time to reach them is, that sort of thing. So, who's your audience? What's the message? And then comes the platform. All too often, people are choosing the platform first. So do we intimately understand our target audience, demographics, psychographics? Our persona is the foundation for creating compelling content that resonates. So if you don't have a persona or multiple personas that describe in detail your target audience, maybe pop that in that, start box, start to build some personas. So then everyone from sales, marketing, customer service, that's where all the data will come from. And all those people can use those personas to better communicate and build relationships with your target audience. And then, of course, are we building deeper audience insights based on our results? And results could be when we put out a message on social media, is that message resonating? Are people liking it? Are people commenting? Are people sharing it? If so, that's good. If not, maybe we have to tweak it. Or if we're running ads, how did those ads, how are we evaluating those ads? And did those ads perform well? If so, that's great. Let's keep doing more of that. But if not, what do we need to change to make it better? So, we looked at that conversation prism with, hundreds of key platforms, but within the next, 10 or so minutes we've got left, let's just look at LinkedIn. Because there's about just over 60 million users in Canada. There's about 675 million monthly users. when we look at beyond our borders. But why are we just kind of taking a little time to look at LinkedIn? Well, if you probably have done a vanity search before, but Google yourself, just type in your name and probably even put it in parentheses. I'm lucky because Cyrus Mavawala, pretty unique name. Not too many people have that name. So if you Google yourself, you're going to see that your LinkedIn profile comes in as one of the top searches when you search your name. And since LinkedIn is a platform that already has trust and credibility with most people, they're going to look at it and they're going to see you and your profile. And if that profile looks professional, hey, that's great. If it doesn't look professional because you haven't really put a lot of effort in there, it's one of the first things they're going to see. And when you're trying to build trust and credibility with anyone, there has to be there can't really be any red flags being raised up in the prospect's mind. So if they go to your website and it looks professional, but your LinkedIn profile looks like it's a few years old and it's got an old picture and things haven't been up to date, and you've won awards and maybe you've spoken at conferences, but you haven't updated that information, there's going to be a disconnect. And the more disconnects there are that a prospect uncovers, the less credibility you have. So 3 steps, right? Who's your target audience? What message do you want to get across to those audiences? And where's the best place to do this? So when we look at LinkedIn, it is the #1 channel for B2B marketers without question. And if, surveys, LinkedIn survey has that at, 94% of people choose LinkedIn as the B2B marketing channel. So let's look at this. Just under half of online Canadians have an account, fairly evenly split between men that are online and women that are online, maybe a little more for men. And age distribution. Well, it makes sense that 25 to 34-year-olds, they're just getting their career in high gear. They're really focused. But you can also see anywhere from 25 to 55, it's quite high. And maybe, some people may say, well, it's even less than half of Canadians. Why should I be on there? Well, it boils down to the people on this platform are there for specific reasons. And I'm sure you've seen even in your own feed, people are saying, well, why are they posting this? This should be at Facebook. I'm here for business and that's what I want to learn. So it is really the place to be for business. So here's the, typical LinkedIn profile. Here's mine. You see the header image. And we've designed the header image so it's already helping tell the story before someone even reads the words down below. So a lot of people just have that standard LinkedIn with kind of blue background. Take the time and get a header image in there. And then you'll see the headline, and this headline is social media consultant, trainer, keynote speaker. And then you'll even see contact information. And we're gonna touch on that in a minute. So that's the typical profile, right? So this one slide, you may want to take a picture of this. This one slide translates into 60 minutes of training, because developing your profile is so important and there's so many different aspects of it. But the gist of it is you want to create your profile so LinkedIn says you have an all-star profile. And as you develop and put content into your profile, whether that's skills or education or contacts, LinkedIn will help you and suggest, hey, you might want to do this, you might want to do it. Follow those suggestions until you reach that all-star status, because an all-star status profile gets many, many more views than someone that hasn't filled out everything. So a couple things to remember here. Prospect perspective. Think of it as, curate your profile with a customer in mind. I know you love your kids, you love your pets, and that's why you've got pictures of them. I get it. But if you have a picture of them instead of a professional headshot on LinkedIn, you need to ask one question. Would your prospect care? Right? Maybe you're in the child rearing business and having you and your kid is a good thing. Maybe, but chances are they're not that interested in your family because they don't even know you. So the prospects are going to self-select to contact you based on their needs. So show prospects how you can impact their business initiative. Instead of simply listing professional accomplishments, make sure your profile relates directly to helping customers. So in that headline that I just showed you in the previous slide, let's say I was an accountant. I could say chartered accountant. Yes, that's true, it's factual. But instead, why don't you write something like small business tax relief expert? So notice the headline makes a reference to pain, right? Tax relief expert, and how taxes cause grief and how this accountant is helping relieve that pain. So just tweaking that headline can make a really big difference. Having a picture, having a picture, a good picture means your profile is going to be viewed 11 times more than if you don't have a photo. So there's all sorts of LinkedIn prefers that you complete, obviously, your profile, and it's going to give you benefits for having a completely filled out profile, especially when you're all-star status. Think SEO. Everything you write in your LinkedIn profile is kind of like all the content you write on your website. It's searchable. So don't think of in terms of words that you might use to describe yourself. Think about how prospects describe you, your company, and what they need, and write it in those terms, and you will come up more often in searches, and hence you'll have more engagement. That little contact information, I'm going to go back to it, just that little contact in the bottom right here, contact info, that's something that we often see is neglected. You can put in 3 URLs, 3 websites. Often I find the individual, even the executives or CEOs have their old company still in there. You need to update that. And because there's 3, we actually have I've got a vacation rental, so I put that in there as well, because I've already nailed it with the 2 couple business URLs, and it doesn't hurt to show people a bit more about you too. Phone, address, email, social media, lots of stuff you can put in there. Inverted pyramid structure. This is basically to say, put the most important information first, then get to the lesser details. Leverage visuals. A lot of people see LinkedIn profile as a kind of resume, but you not only with your header image and profile picture, but in each section, under each job that you've had, you can put in supporting multimedia content. You can upload directly or a link to videos. You can put in pictures. So it really creates a better tour of your profile for those looking and trying to find out more information. And of course, create connections. You don't have to have 500 plus, but probably have a minimum of 50 connections. And focus on quality really versus quantity. And then of course, in order to be seen and to get people to notice your profile and get into their feeds, you need to publish content, nourishing content. This is a rubric that LinkedIn uses. And when we work with executives and sales teams on social selling, another way to review your LinkedIn prowess is looking at your social selling index, the SSI. Now, this is typically a tool that's associated with Sales Navigator, which is very expensive, but it allows you to see where you stand based on 4 basic dimensions. And you can see those: establish your professional brand, finding the right people, and so forth. So I can see right away that, okay, I'm fairly strong in some, and engage with insights, so I'm not sharing enough information. And I know that I've kind of been busy, lazy, call it what you want, but it hasn't. I definitely need to improve that area. So if you look at your social selling index every week, you can see where you stand. And the neat thing is, you can see where you stand with people in your industry. So I'm at 71, and the average person in my industry is at 29. So I rank in the top 1%, which is great. And then people in your network. And if you want to get to this social selling index for you, just Google my LinkedIn social selling index. My LinkedIn social selling Nixon will come right up. Now that's your personal profile. Then you've got your company profile, right? You need to develop a following. You need to engage employees as brand ambassadors. You need to share nourishing content and build that community. So there's a ton of things we need to do. And all of this takes time and takes resources. And if you're going to do it, my suggestion is do it once and do it properly. Make sure you're trained with the latest. So hopefully you've got a few bullets in each of these areas, or at least in the start and maybe increase area, and happy to answer any questions that may be here now. And if you think of a question, an hour from now or a day from now, happy to chat then too. There's my contact information. Roy,
Right.
over to you.
Thank you so much for the information, Cyrus. Now, before we switch over to our next presenter, we do have a little bit of time for questions, and I do see a 3-part question in here right now. So the question here is it necessary to upload a photograph to LinkedIn? And could this lead to a bias because of race or color? Then the second part to this question is, what about age? Is it good to include age in the profile? And what if you're in between jobs or careers? What should you put?
Okay, sounds good. So I'll tackle each of those. It is necessary to upload a photograph because the algorithm that LinkedIn has created favors profiles, individual profiles with a photograph. So if you're trying to be seen, which is, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're in business, you need to be on LinkedIn. And if you're on LinkedIn, you're there for a reason, to be seen and connect with people. You do need a photograph. Now, the second part of this question is interesting and sad because there was a study a number of years ago, and even they've done studies with names on resumes, not even an image, right? Just with names. And if you have a, quote, ethnic sounding name, guess what? Joe Smith got more replies from people looking for jobs than that individual did in that current study. Yes, it could. There could be bias, absolutely. Unfortunately, in 2020, yes, as we're seeing all sorts of things happening in the world today. But, I think we just need to, we can't hide from it. We need to say, this is who I am. And if people have any sense, make sure you're listing all your great things that you've accomplished and how you can help them. Because maybe one person will discount it, and then another person will say, well, look at all their skills. Look at how many people have said they're excellent in this area, and they vouch for them, and they've created recommendations for them, and so forth. So even though there could be some negative side, make sure it's a great photograph, make sure it's a professional photograph, and get it up there. What about age? Is it good to include age? I would never, unless they say you can't apply unless you're 23 to 25 years old. Why would you? I would never put an age in a profile. I think people can very quickly tell by an image, by a photo. So you may actually want to think twice in, okay, if I'm really concerned about ageism, do I want to dye my hair before I put a photo up, right? Those are the things you do need to think about. What I wouldn't do is put a photo from 10 years ago, because if things move to the next stage and you actually meet, I've seen it. People are totally shocked when they see the individual because they've used some photo from 10, 15 years ago. And when they arrive to the job interview or the first meeting, they look like a totally different person. So make sure it is accurate. What if you're in between jobs, careers? What do you put in your profile? So that, great question. It really depends on how large that actual gap is, right? And you can move, it's interesting, you can move the content within your LinkedIn profile around. So you can have jobs right up there at the top, or you could put volunteer opportunities at the top, and maybe even when they do talk about job positions, like I have in my volunteer area looks a little sparse, And I'm actually going to tweak that a little bit, but I've put a lot of my volunteering opportunities into that job section. So maybe you're sitting on a board right now and that's ongoing. And if it is, if it's ongoing, that will pop up at the very top of your job layout. So, you know, it doesn't look like you're not doing anything. It looks like, wow, you're a director at this position and that sort of thing. So hopefully that helps there. I see a few more questions popping up. Roy, how are we doing on time?
We're actually going to be moving on to Elizabeth now, but with that said, Cyrus, if you're able to type in the answers either into the chat or into the Q&A section, that would be absolutely lovely. And if we have more time at the end, then we'll be answering some of them live as well.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. And if I don't get to anyone, please don't hesitate to follow up. Thank you.
Yes. So next, well, let's see here. Our next presenter is Elizabeth Auceda, who is the Supplier Diversity Manager of Sodexo. Sodexo focuses on diversity and inclusion in all areas by unlocking the potential offered by its global scale. Elizabeth joined Sodexo in 2009 and was appointed to lead Sodexo's supplier diversity in Canada 2017. She is devoted to advancing supplier diversity and has leveraged her passion to extend diversity and inclusion beyond our workforce and into Sodexo's supply chain, ensuring all areas of supplier diversity are captured and moving forward through strategic and innovative solutions throughout Canada. Elizabeth is successful not only in Sodexo, but in the community and Canada as an advocate for change. Elizabeth will be providing us a bit more of a corporate perspective towards the marketing profile. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm going to be letting you take over the screen share now.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cyrus. That was excellent. I did do some start things or look at my LinkedIn profile. Very good. I think you can use it in a lot of different aspects. So great information. So I'm going to be sharing my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay. So today here, I'm representing Sodexo here. As Roy mentioned, I'm the Supplier Diversity Manager, and today I'm here to talk about what is Sodexo looking in your marketing material. It's definitely a great pleasure and privilege here to be speaking to all of you suppliers as you continue to work forward and growing your business in these quite difficult times. So I know you will find a lot of information useful from the past presentation and this one too, so please enjoy. So one of the things I wanted to add this slide here to just let you know what's the process our supply team uses to oversee a category, a RFP, high potential supplier, so that way you get the sense of what work goes around into looking at a new supplier. It definitely is a lot of background work at the end. I'm not going to go too much into this. It's quite the standard step process that we have out there. They may be called different names, but they usually outline the same. And I've categorized them as they fit most as per that. And definitely once you have reviewed that, if you have any questions and would like to go into more detail into regards any of these areas, definitely we can speak offline and go into that. So today here, I'm here to talk about what do you need to have in your marketing materials? What can you put in that capability statement, marketing resource, marketing tool that you will be presenting to Sodexo and corporates around? I mean, there's definitely right now we're all being asked to to join different areas of webinars and using different platforms like Cyrus was mentioning, LinkedIn. So we want to bring that value to that corporation when we present it. So one of the important things, and I know these are very, very, very logical, I guess you could say, but unfortunately, I have come across many materials where company profiles are not clear and concise. They're very vague, or they go into different information that is really not required. As Cyrus was saying, it is something you want to catch interest. You want to you're targeting an audience. So in this case, you're targeting Sodexo. What is Sodexo about? Sodexo is a food and service and facility management company. If that is not your area, you might not even want to target us because we might not find synergies. Or if you are something way different that we are currently in, but to see a potential in that area, then you need to reflect that in your marketing. So your company profile does need to be very concise and clear. Second step is service areas. And what I mean by service areas is Sodexo itself, we're all through Canada. We have over 400 locations that throughout Canada in every province. So where are you specialized in? Are you just in a province? Are you just in a city? Are you all of Canada? Are you North American or beyond? We are a global company. We're almost in 80 countries. So where are you targeting? I would like to know that. It's like this is like your resume that you're giving us, and we're reviewing what are the potentials, what are the synergies, do you fit the role, do you fit what we're looking for? So let us know. I know this is usually 1 page to 2 pages, and definitely you can, I've seen different areas. I try to look for a couple of capability statements or marketing materials I've come across, but unfortunately they're in my office, which I'm not allowed to be in. So I couldn't present them today, but there has been some companies that have done a really great job in concising this information into 1 and 2 pages. Third one would be product and services. What kind of product are you presenting today, or your service? What is it? Once again, these are quite common, but unfortunately, sometimes I've gone through capability statements where I don't know what this product is being presented. I don't know the service. It goes into a lot of information, but nothing that I can say, wow, I think I need to invest more time in this company to see the capability of that company with our company. It's just a lot of information, but not clear. No information that pinpoints what I can use out of your company. Sodexo is very focused on sustainability. We have an initiative called the Better Tomorrow, which entitles different aspects, gender balance, sustainability efforts to the environment. Different certification that might also bring some synergies between your company and our company. One thing that Sodexo does is we don't call them a supplier, we call them partners. So if there is some synergies there, that partnership can grow and definitely can see some of the potentials that we can. And what sometimes it ends up happening is that there's so much synergy, there might not be opportunity now, but we'll keep it on monitoring status. So when there is an opportunity, we can bring it in because there is high potential there, just waiting for that timing for the time. So label those, especially when you're looking for Sodexo, label those, what synergies, certifications that you can bring in that Sodexo can definitely look at it and say, oh, this seems to be a good fit. Let's have a further conversation. Logistics. This is a little bit also very high for Sodexo just because we do not own a warehouse. We don't have warehouse space. So most of our products that we order is usually done through distributors. So we don't order pallets, and we don't have anywhere to order those pallets and store those pallets. So each of our 400 locations will order their own products. So if it's a small location, they'll order maybe a couple of boxes per week, or depending on what the item is. But storage is a big issue. This is why we resort to using distributors. With that said, yes, we do also use direct shipment, but due to the decreased amount of storage, there is limited amount that we can order through direct. So if your minimums for direct ship is a pallet, or let's say 20 boxes per order, that might be a little bit too much that we won't be able to order it because we have nowhere to put it. So current markets, where you currently are, or where do you want to be, or where are you looking? Sodexo is currently in the education, the healthcare, mining, energy and resource, as well as corporations. Are you in those markets? Is that a market that you currently are in or want to get in, or are you targeting those markets? Those are the markets we in, and we specialize in those markets. And that could be definitely, once again, if there's a market out there that you feel, hey, you're not in, but with my knowledge, definitely Sodexo can make a mark there. Let us know. It's what we don't know, but definitely comes into a further conversation. And I think all these points is to get us going, saying, hey, this marketing material that we've come across, there is high potential here. Let's have a deeper conversation. Can we make this work? Is it possible to make this work, to go into a further contract? What sets you apart? I think Cyrus pointed out a couple of great pinpoints there, key factors there. What sets you apart is something simple as a picture. Unfortunately, many of these marketing materials I've come across also don't even have a logo. This is a professional marketing tool. You have to make it look professional. You have to make it look like you're serious. You can do the job. You are serious of becoming a partner with Sodexo. So in addition to that, what sets you apart is your product. What does your product different? Is it different from all the rest? One of the examples that I usually use, there is tons and tons of office supplies suppliers out there. So why would Sodexo want to partner with you? What sets you apart? What makes you different? Do you deliver faster? Do you deliver, I don't know, with a smile? I don't know. You know your company best, but definitely these are areas where we can definitely improve in our marketing materials, because definitely, as I mentioned, and I'll repeat it because just yesterday I received a marketing material through email, and it was on a Word document with a title and then 3 paragraphs. I'm like, oh. For me, definitely I know the struggles a lot of companies have, but I definitely have to go back and encourage that supplier and say, hey, I cannot give this the way the setup is. It needs more information because it's lacking. It's lacking the professional look. And definitely, as Cyrus says, you're there to get as most hits as often. So you are there to be noticed. So this as well, your marketing material is there so you can be noticed, and Sodexo can pick up the phone and say, or do an email, say, hey, can we set up a meeting? I would like to further discuss the opportunity that we could have at a greater scale. And definitely anything I can go in. I did go through all of these quite quickly, And definitely, I would love to have a conversation deeper with each of or anyone that definitely would like more information. But as per Sodexo, definitely we're here to help, to assist. Definitely the capability statement, your marketing resource, your tools, definitely is a pinpoint that will help not only myself, but my category managers. As I showed you the first slide, they go through a detailed process to analyze the companies, to analyze the opportunity, because we don't want to go into a partnership where it's just nice to have, because that does not do you justice or ourselves justice. We want to go into a partnership that you can grow and we can grow. Our clients can be happy and you can be happy. So definitely, this is something that you need to invest the time in it, the thought in it, the resources. And another thing, I definitely always encourage a couple of people that come up to me and say, what can I do differently? We're known to marketing materials to be standard. Now with us being so virtual, I think there's an opportunity to cater these marketing materials to the target audience that you are looking at. If you're looking at a food service, target your marketing material to the food service industry or whatever industry you are looking to grab. I'm not only sharing this information so that you can become a supplier with Sodexo, it's also so you can grow your business in elsewhere with other corporations. And I know areas of this would definitely bring in benefits, not only just for Sodexo, but anybody that reads your material. So with that said, I'm definitely here to help. I really want to thank you all for taking the time and to listen and to review all these wonderful areas of opportunities. Take a minute and look at your capability statement. And if you need to refresh, you need to remove, use the four steps that Cyrus provided and see where you need to improve your marketing material so that it looks in a professional way. Add a logo, add your website, make it look professional, make it look like you're serious. You want an opportunity, who you're targeting, and definitely I know you will get a call back. So thank you today.
All right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that information. I think you've provided fantastic insight to what not just Sodexo is looking for, but also what other corporate members and what other partners are looking for in trying to join an opportunity. So I'm going to share my screen once again. So we've reached that time within our webinar series where it is our official Q&A. So for our last about 10 minutes of time, if you have any questions that you'd like either Cyrus or Elizabeth to answer, we can get that going right now. In terms of questions within our Q&A section right now, I see one is asking, is now, with the current situation, I'm guessing this is referring to COVID-19, a good time to switch industries or careers? And my own little addition to that, Elizabeth, is how would you be representing that within your marketing profile if it's something new that you're doing?
Definitely innovation is a big thing, especially right now with the COVID. It's all new. It's all new. Right now, there's coming things that we didn't even need before that we're finding that we need today. So definitely that is something that you should add as your next step as an innovation, somewhere within the area of your capability statements. Because if you were, I know there's millions, well, not millions, but there's companies out there that used to be, auto parts manufacturer. Now they are developing hand sanitizers, or they were plastic. They used to do something with plastic, and now they are shield manufacturers. So definitely that is a difference, and it's new, and it's something we need now in current day. So if there's something that you have developed or are switching in the industry, definitely put that in.
Okay, yeah, that's lovely. We've been hearing from a lot of our suppliers actually that they've either been switching or scaling up their products and services with regards to COVID-19. It's one of the reasons why we have our COVID-19 response list that we give to corporate members, and as well as putting on our website. When it comes to COVID-19 responses though, have you seen a lot of suppliers, a lot of your partners ending up changing what they're doing, or have you had to outsource as well?
A lot of our suppliers have modified their product or services that they're doing. A lot of them, I would say at least maybe 40% of them have integrated some sort of either product or service due to the COVID. And we've also had to just for the amount of volume, in some cases, more in the US than in Canada, outsource something we haven't needed in the past, but due to the COVID, we had to go out from our regular contracted vendors.
Right. I'm guessing with partners either scaling down to reduce the risk, or just in general being in hotspots where it's not really the most prudent to be running 100% of the time. You've had to see that change as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And us as well, as I mentioned before, we're in the education industry. So obviously all of our education locations have closed, if not closed completely, close to about maybe a 40% operational level, depending on what is still being operated at each location may differ. So definitely there has been a huge change in operation.
Okay. Now, because we're talking about marketing profiles, have you seen any in recent memory that have kind of blew you out of the water? They were just outstanding. You were very impressed with them. And
yes,
what would they kind of look like?
They were very clear, and there was one that I remember, and I remember it to this day. It was the first time I actually attended a CAMC. It was CAMC conference, and she blew me. She actually came with information I did not know about Sodexo, and I was like,
really?
no, we have a full department. She's like, yes, you do have, very polite, very professional, not confrontational. So let me get that clear. But it was more of an information for me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go back to my department and see if that's how we do it. Lo and behold, that's how we did it. And it was in the legal department. So I was very impressed that she was very professional. Her capability statement lined out, very concise. So yeah, definitely that's one of them that blew me off. I remember hers in particular. There has been others, just the layout of the capability statements, the way it was written. Some of them were in a bit of word plus sort of pictographic style. Definitely they made it work. So it's something that you take a glance and you get the gist of what they're selling or what they're providing, where you can get it, where not you can get it. So it just one stop information that made you think, okay, yes, there's opportunity. No, there's not opportunity.
That's actually amazing. I think it speaks both to your and Cyrus's point of customizing and knowing your audience.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it looks like we actually have another question for Cyrus, if you're able to answer. And that question would be, now, if you're in between jobs or careers or industries, does one take the chance to go back into sales and marketing and upload that into your profile and do subsequent courses, or stay in purchasing and send that message on LinkedIn. So this will also speak to, I suppose, if your business is switching gears a little bit, how do you represent that on LinkedIn specifically?
Yeah, well, I can't say whether it's good to switch gears or not, but if you are pivoting personally or your business is pivoting, like on an individual level, if you're looking for jobs or looking for work, you need to set up your profile to show the outcomes that you've had and that you've obtained for your past customers or clients or employers. So all those accomplishments are transferable. So, Elizabeth mentioned innovation. So if you can talk about innovation and how your solution or how you helped provide a solution with your team that was innovative because it solved X, Y, Z and generated X dollars in revenue, or, whatever those, really solid metrics are, that can be, people will see that and they'll say, okay, this person's a go-getter. They know how to solve a problem, right? They know how to come to the table with the solution. So it really is about, regardless of which direction you're going, talk about the challenges in a way the prospect can see their pain and they can see how you solve that pain. Because at the end of the day, a prospect or a CAMC corporate, they're interested in how you can help them be better. And be better means maybe it's solving an immediate challenge. Maybe it's something, as Elizabeth said, they weren't even sure they had or needed. But if you can articulate it in such a way that you're showing them how you can help them versus just what you've done in the past, you can't go wrong regardless of which direction you happen to be going. And that just speaks to doing your research up front and understanding your audience and understanding the challenges that they're going through today and that they're going to be facing in 2 months from now, because things are changing so quickly. Look at, Google Canada came out with something a couple of weeks ago, and they talked about, we don't look at what's happening now, we look at what's happening 3 months and 6 months and a year from now. So look at use that same framework for looking at your customers. Look at what they need today. Look at what you think they're going to need 3 months, 6 months, and a year from now, and be positioning yourself there.
I think that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that definitely that is, I agree with everything Cyrus said. I just have one example. I've come across many new suppliers that have pivoted from being into a corporate and saw, as Cyrus mentioned, an issue or a problem and saw the solution, knew what a solution can be, and pivot to a new startup company. And that's what they brought out there was, this is the issue I saw. I'm bringing a solution, and this is how I can help, and how it can help your company. So definitely, if there is something that you see that we don't have out there, or we have, but you can make it better, it is definitely where you need to focus on.
Right. So that's just about all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our speakers, Cyrus and Elizabeth, for being here and giving us all of this wonderful knowledge to bring back with us. As well, once again, thank you to our sponsors, EY, Flexingate, Magna, Nutrien, Prasad Employment Law, and RBC. Our next webinar will be the digital supply chain, discovering how roadmaps are being deployed, which you can email me at rsing@canci.ca or visit canci.ca for more information. Finally, let's see if this will change. We have our procurement fair. for 2020. We may be indoors now, but that doesn't mean that we can't still network. Join us July 21st to 23rd for CAMC's first virtual diversity procurement fair. By registering now, you can receive 50% off the normal price. Thank you everyone for being here today, and have a lovely Tuesday.
Mhm.